You guys, this was a crazy game in the end, for good reasons, but ultimately for bad reasons. Before I get into anything though, today's video was brought to you by the One Football app. Thank you to everyone that supports me by downloading the app. You guys, the One Football app have a fantastic new feature now. You're now able to watch La Liga games for the price of $2.99. The app does get better. If you guys want it, in the link in the description below will be a link to the One Football app. But you guys, that second half wasn't acceptable whatsoever. Questions do need to be asked. I think maybe questions could be asked about Sarri's team lineup talks, and I think questions could be asked about Sarri's team talks during halftime. But at the same time, I personally do feel like maybe it's a bit too rich, because I think the players need to ultimately take a lot of responsibility. And it's weird that I need to talk about negatives in this game. I was not expecting to, because of that ridiculous start to the game. And I feel like I do want to talk about the first half, because with this game tonight, it was literally a game of two halves, the very definition of that. First half was everything good about the system, everything good about the players' understanding of it, everything good about the players' application on top. And Slavia Prague just couldn't cope. Now, during the time, I felt, wow, Slavia Prague are moving a bit mad. It's too easy for us to break them through. And I thought it was a bit surprising that they reverted to a 4-2-3-1. I mean, I could see why. You know, their best player, Semchuk, came back. And with this guy, you know, in the base of their midfield, naturally the manager's going to feel confident to push men forwards, but they were getting exposed time and time again. Not able to catch up with our, second man runs and behind, too much movement. We were dragging them where we wanted to, created so much havoc down the flanks as well. And it was no surprise that we were 4-0 up. Pedro was a testament to that in the first half. I mean, the goal he scored, the first goal, ridiculous football. Amazing football, great goal by Pedro. Second goal was one of the funniest goals I've seen for time. And I'm going to be cynical, but I think I can get away with it now, just due to the nature of the second half. But how is a guy missing an open goal? How is he hitting the post from 1 yard? No one was closing him down. I was like, wow. And just like the misfortune for that goal to deflect off the post and hit the Slavia Prague defender. I mean, that really summed up everything going in our favour in the first half, though. And the goals continued. Olivier Giroud, they couldn't cope with him. And with Giroud, when you occupy the guy, he's going to take you and some of your teammates out of the game. And we were seeing Hazard just having so much fun in between the lines. We saw Emerson bombing forward. I mean, Aspie looked better too in the first half. And they just couldn't cope at all. They couldn't get close to us. They weren't winning their 50-50s. Everything was in our favour. The goals were there. The football was there. You're thinking, wow, why weren't there youth players on the bench where Sarri could potentially use Ampadu? We were all thinking, are we going to see Gary Cahill coming on in the second half at some point in time? We were all thinking about the other game. Let's be serious. The Frankfurt vs Benfica, really considering who our next opponents are going to be. If you guys don't know, it's going to be Frankfurt, and Frankfurt is going to be a hard game. A very hard game. We're going to have to be on point. It's going to be one of our hardest games this season. Frankfurt are a serious team now. Expect me to do a lot of videos on them in the future. It's going to be a fun time. But that second half comes, and what is happening? What is Sarri doing? It's quite weird. Was it like this at Napoli? I mean, I don't think it was. For me personally, I still think it's due to the nature of the players he has at his disposal. I mean, even the nature of Slavia Prague's goals. They were wonder goals from outside the box. Of course, not closing people down quickly enough. That was a disappointing thing. But the Slavia Prague player had a lot to do to create those goals. Let's not forget that. Some of the goals he scored were incredible. But, my God, you guys. Application, intensity, it continues. It continues. And for me, I'm sorry you guys, it's always going to be due to the individual players. I saw that left-hand side and I saw the lack of responsibility. I saw the lack of accountability. Ross Barkley, I mean, the guy just reaches new lows and new lows. But the one thing you can rely on him for at least is his positional awareness and, keeping an eye on the press and doing his duties. But today, he didn't do that for some reason. And I can kind of understand it. I can. you're going to naturally get complacent if you're 4-0 up in the first half, barely getting out of second gear. It's going to happen. You're not going to take your opponent seriously. You're just waiting for the game to end. You're thinking about conserving your energy. You're thinking about the next games. This stuff happens. But again, wonder goals punishing us. And I do like that it's always wonder goals that punish us, because it shows us that the concentration levels just aren't there. That left-hand side gave all the time and space whenever they wanted. Barkley wasn't in position. Kovacic just isn't used to this reduced role at all. All Slavia Prague did was one substitution that changed the game for them. Their striker Alinka came on, and he just did a much better job when he played, and it's kind of surprising that he didn't start the game. It really baffled me, because I thought that he was causing us a lot of issues, you know. When you're going to play against us, you want your forwards to work hard, press us, harry us, make runs in behind, stretch your play, and that's one thing he was doing time and time again, and he was exploiting that lack of defensive discipline in the team. Positional awareness was dead. For some reason in the second half too, Aspie wasn't in line with the back four. The protection in front, Hazard stopped working all of a sudden, which even then it's no excuse. I can understand in the sense, you know, some of the nasty tackles he was receiving in the first half. Listen, the guy's thinking about Real Madrid. The guy's thinking about his next games. He's not looking to get injured unnecessarily. Everyone thought the game was over at 4-0. We were 5-1 up on aggregate. 5-1 up. I've seen this happen before. I've seen it happen, even though there's no excuse for it whatsoever. And I'm hoping this is going to be the wake-up call for these guys, that you can't afford to take any bit of pressure or intensity off your game, because most of you guys aren't even that good to just rely on your natural footballing ability. You know, they really put the pressure on us, and their tactics were very similar to Tottenham's. You know, they became much more compact and constricted. They became much more narrow. They used a movement with their strikers to overload us, and then, you know, quickly supported them. And that's one thing Slavia Prague do. You know, let's not forget the goals they were banging in against Sevilla. The exact same circumstances. Sevilla were slacking off. They were getting complacent. Slavia Prague bombarding them, throwing men forward. They'll confidently do that. They're a team that have confidence in their ability. And in a way, I do have to congratulate them and the fans and their performance. You know, the first half I was thinking, wow, what are they doing? This doesn't seem like them. Where's the intensity in their game? They came back with a new energy in the second half. We weren't ready for it. We got too complacent. We were falling asleep. And they're a team that have faith in themselves, and they're always going to be in a game. They don't know when they're beaten. I'm sure Sarri would have instilled that in them. I'm guarantee this squad watched that game against Sevilla time and time again. But the complacency kicked in. And as I've said, let's pray this doesn't happen again. Because there were positives as well, that second half. The understanding of how to play and break down teams. People are going to be like, oh, Nini, you know, we always beat the smaller teams, but do we really? Yeah, we've beaten Huddersfield 5-0. We've had some success, but it's not consistent. Let's not gas. Let's not pretend that's the case. Most times we're struggling against these teams as well. It's been this past month where I've seen the most development in this team since back during the first half of the season, around like October time. Since then, there's been no development or improvement. It's been this last 28, 38 days where we've seen development in the system and the tactical understanding. And for those reasons, this is why I personally feel confident that with the right acquisitions, this football could really work consistently, and we could start to see what Sarri has for us and for this team. Because I think we're always going to struggle with this team. I understand the nature of people's arguments. Most arguments aren't on point or are dead, in my opinion, but there are good ones. And one argument I like is, and I've said this before too, if you know that there's some limitations in regards to this team's understanding of the system, should Sarri have better plan Bs to deal with situations in game? When you saw that, I mean, I'm actually right though, because Jorginho came on quite quickly. And when he came on and when Ross came off, we looked more solid then. You know, we managed to stop Slavia Prague, you know, going forward and creating too many shots since that period. This game really highlights the benefit of Jorginho. You know, there's a reason why he plays in this system at the base. When Jorginho came on, we were able to beat their first phase of pressure. We played through it. We started to create some attacks as well and keep the ball a bit better. And this is the reason why the guy plays in the team. I don't know. This game is weird. I mean, there's so many theories we can all have in regards to what the hell happened in the second half? It's weird when you see guys like a Kante and Aspi, their work rate wasn't as on point. Kante was a bit sloppy, losing the ball unnecessarily and uncharacteristically on top of that. Is he doing a bit too much? I don't know. I mean, he's barely got a rest this season. Let's be serious. It's frustrating. You know, the football didn't come in the second half. And, you know, we ain't going to see no improvement until we get the right players and acquisition. That's it. Some of these guys can't be here anymore. It's as simple as that. We're not going to consistently be able to do anything. You know, there's a reason why we can't challenge for the league, because we can't play well consistently over the course of a season. In bits and pieces, we can do it. We can't do it consistently yet. The quality just isn't there. Oh, my God. I'm just thinking with guys like Ross, bruv, you barely played. You haven't even played that much. How are you not being more defensively aware and applying yourself more? I mean, aren't you trying to fight for your place? Everyone knows that Ruben's the number one guy now, understandably rested for this game. But I was really surprised by Ross in particular, because I thought that off the ball, he really wasn't there in the second half. I mean, you guys are definitely going to have to stay tuned for the 5 talking points video. I feel like I'm going to have to watch this second half again just to really understand what the hell happened and why things fell off. I'm going to do some research as well. I want to understand Sarri's first spell at Napoli a bit more. I want to understand some of the issues the team face, and if these are things we can overcome. I'm still a bit lost for words. That second half is random. 4-3. I mean, credit to Slavia Prague, you know. At least he gave your fans something to be proud of and to be happy for. It's one of the biggest games in the history of the club. So, you know, credit to them for making it a contest. But, I mean, this game really just sums up and emphasizes the lack of consistent quality in this team. And it sums up that this squad isn't ready for anything. I know the system can be a bit predictable in that sense, but for me, execution still plays a massive part, because once you execute the simple things, it can be beautiful in the end, as we've seen time and time again. It's the story of our season, you guys. It really is, but I need to keep it moving. I'm going to go back and watch the second half now while it's still fresh. I'm Nini FC. This is Blue Lines TV. See you guys tomorrow.